So with the time that we have left, we thought we would open up the floor with any questions that anyone from the floor has.
I promise shorter answers.
Anyone? Yes, sir.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
On getting the event. I live in the South Park area, and one of the things that I'm concerned about, just as a parent, and also somebody who lives and works in Charlotte, is that what I have is first of all, I'm a cyclist. I commute to and from the South Park area, right here to Bank of America, Gateway Village, and I try to do my bit for the environment and to try to promote cycling as a viable means of transportation. But one of the things that I have a perception, and maybe it's wrong, is that on Sharon Road, it's almost like the Autobahn, particularly during rush hour. This posted speed limit right at Quill Hollow changes from 35 miles an hour to 40 miles per hour. But I would say, from my perception as a cyclist who's always, riding in traffic, that I would say 80% of the drivers are either distracted, texting, or they're going too fast. And because that area, I don't, sorry if I'm being long-winded, but it's something I'm very passionate about because I have small children. There's a Harris YMCA there, there's a school there, and you almost have to throw a box of nails on the road to get your kids to cross the street over there. And I'm just wondering, if there's something more that can be done to enforce the speed limit?
Yes. Thank you, God. It's a very good question. As you've noticed in the last several years, our officers have been spending a little more time with monitoring speeds, and we're not entirely happy with that because we actually had a pretty effective way to do it with our red light cameras and the safe speed cameras. We're continuing to look at models to get that program resuscitated. And for those of you who don't remember that program, it was a program where you have a truck kind of sitting at a high-speed area, and they take photos of the license plate of speeding traffic and ticket those vehicles. And it was a way of giving people an incentive beyond the speed limit sign to slow down. The problem with that program was that every dime that the city put in to operate the program had to be given over to the school system. I mean, the way the program was modeled was that the tickets, the amount that we drew up in the tickets would accumulate, and we would pay for the operation of the program, and anything above that would go to the school system. A Supreme Court case in North Carolina said that was an illegal way to do it, that every dime the program generated had to go to the school system, and that the city would then have to take on the operating costs. That's about a $2.7 million annual expense, and we just haven't, done that because we don't get to recoup what comes out of it. So we're negotiating with the school system about how to make that happen. I think that'd be the single most effective thing we can do to reduce speeds is to get that program back.
So aside from this kind of ties back into what you said about revenue and things.
Yeah.
And I heard this from somebody from Portland yesterday that part of their funds directed toward active transportation or other parts of transportation, particularly cycling, were generated because they raised fines. So for speeding, for things that actually impact what happens on the street. What flexibility, I assume the flexibility rests completely with the city, that we're not governed by state laws or anything, that we could look at that as a way to generate revenue and discourage exactly what Andrew's talking about.
Well, we may be able, I'll have to check whether I'm right about this, but we may be able to have some discretion in the amount of the fines, but we don't have discretion in terms of how those fines get spent. They, almost all of them, for like if a police officer stops you and takes a ticket, it goes to the state, and the state distributes those funds themselves. The cameras were different because they were civil penalties, so we were able to capture the money locally, but the law required that the money go straight to the school system, even before we recouped the cost of the program.
So if we get stopped for speeding on a city street by a CMPD officer, that goes to the state?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
I'd
sir.
love to keep it.
yeah.
Mayor Foxx,
Yes, sir.
there's been several studies out in regards to, talking about speed limits and safety of bicycles. Several studies out in regard to biofeedback and how fast you're going. The city of Charlotte, to my knowledge, has about 3 or 4 of these, electronic signs that are solar powered that feedback information to the drivers how fast they're going. I called in inquiry about buying one and putting it on the road near my home because of what was happening in excess speed. And was told by the city that they were discontinuing that program.
I'll check into it. I hadn't heard that.
Well, they said it was not possible because they're going to actually pull some signage that they have, some of the electronic signage that they had away because they didn't see their use. I disagree with that. I think that they certainly can't help control speeds. And I would also ask if you would think, because it would be a city expense, if you can install these kind of signs around schools to help monitor the speed and let people know the fact that they are speeding.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. I had not been told that by our police department, but I'll check into whether that's true or not. Discourage them from discontinuing it if it is true. Thank you.
I think we have time for one more.
Real quick, last year I made a visit to Chicago, and I was pretty shocked and admired by how the pedestrian transportation was there, pedestrian walking and cycling. And they don't really have that many more facilities besides the sidewalk that kind of runs up down the lake, the Lakeshore Drive, whatnot. I've talked to the people who were visiting there, and they said one of the things that really made a huge difference in that city was the mayor's public support of cycling and pedestrian in the city. How can CABA and other groups in the city work with you and your office to get you to be more outspoken for cycling support in the city?
I think we've got to work together on getting a couple of big wins. I mean, we've gotten some wins in the past. We've gotten more bike mile lanes than we've had in our history. Every time we resurface roads, we put more on the street. We just did a revision of our bicycle plan, and that contains in a lot of good ideas. But y'all have come to me a couple of times. You said, what if we block off some streets in the center city and just have like an opportunity for people to ride their bicycles, in the center city or wherever. I think doing some things like that and using them to promote bicycling in our community would help us get some strong wins. One thing that's different about Charlotte than Chicago is that when Mayor Daley wants to close down the airport, he can close down the airport. In Charlotte, we kind of do it by committee, and so the city council's got to be weigh in on things and so forth. And so that's just a culture difference between the cities, and it's not to say that I won't stand strong with you to try to promote more bicycling, but in terms of getting some of the things the city council has the power to do done, we've got to have an army of 6 or 7 people on the city council ready to go do them. So I'll work with you on building a list of projects that we can do.
I think a big thing too, what his promotion was trying to get people to overcome that perception that it was not safe to cycle, which in Charlotte, a lot of people have that perception, and I think a lot of people in the cycling community totally disagree with that, and it's getting that perception out there that, there's plenty of streets in Charlotte that you can ride on that are safe. And supporting that from the top, I think is key.
You got it. And let's look for ways to do it, and I'll jump in.
Maybe one more.
Sure.
All right, there was a lot of discussion in several of our groups about education, and hopefully your administration will support us in going to the schools and driver's ed programs and getting more bicycle education. And I still hear stories about cyclists that are being hit and no charges being filed. That's just a comment.
Well, I appreciate that. And, one of the things I've done since taking office, almost a few days after taking office, was putting CABA's leadership in front of our police department to try to open the dialogue about taking seriously these issues where vehicle drivers are hitting passengers and making sure we have some real accountability built in there. So it's an issue that I'm certainly aware of, and I will continue working with Martin and others to try to.
I think it leads to that perception that he's talking about, that the streets are unsafe for cyclists. You get hit, you don't do anything about it. You know,
Folks, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, man.
This is his card, he gets a free renewal.
It says expiration date, DNC National Convention, September 2012. I'll tell you what, thank you, Martin. Thank you. Thank all of you. Okay.
Thanks very much for your time.
Enjoy it.
Okay. Okay, folks. Got a lunch out there if you want to grab some.
Thank you.
Just one quick.